So, when you talk about the development of new technologies, you don't often talk about construction and how new technology is changing construction. A lot of time you focus on how maybe it's changing space, so the medical fields, maybe microchips for computers, not how it's potentially revolutionizing how we build. So, the one of potentially the biggest things that's changing how we build construction is 3D printing. 3D printing exists for quite a while now, and you probably know what it is. But if you don't, basically what 3D printing is, it's you make a design in a CAD program, which is program lets you spin all around, lets you make a 3D structure. And what that allows you to do is you import it into the 3D printer, and it will print out whatever that design was. My cousin has a 3D printer, for example, that he uses a lot. He's printed out vases, silverware. He printed a starship for my other cousin. It was like 3 feet long. It was insane. So there's a lot you can do with it, but typically it's been on a much smaller scale, not to the scale that construction is would use it in. But what we've begun doing in construction is 3D printing an entire house. So that house is just the bare structure, but doesn't include like doors, windows, your utilities. So it's still missing a lot, but it's still the main structure of the house itself. And one of the big things with that is you can do it really cheaply. There's a company called Icon that 3D printed a 2-story house in a single day for about $4,000. As said, it's still missing a lot of the utilities and all that type of stuff, but it's just revolutionary with how fast that was done, and it takes from building a structure from like months and months of long hard labor to a much quicker process. So, but it's not all good. There's still a lot of issues that we have to figure out with it. One example is we don't know anything about it. It's a very new technology. There's a lot we don't know about it, and there's a lot that's changing with it. We're constantly producing new materials for it, which each material has a different property. They have different properties, and they do differently under different conditions. So so that folds in, there's no building codes for them. What a building code is, the building codes pretty much govern everything in construction, from how something's put together, the material that is used, to really everything, anything you can think about with it. So, and none of those exist, and you have to have them exist for us to actually build them in the United States and have a livable, workable building that you can be in. And with that, going back to the 3D printed stuff, all these new technologies being developed for it and changes constantly happening with it, we haven't had time to develop these building codes. So we really don't know how the material that's used performs. It might burn really fast, or it might conduct smoke or different gases, or maybe even emit a toxic gas. We don't know. We still have to do a lot of testing with it, and until we have those done, which who knows how long that could take, it's not going to go anywhere. Another potential issue is labor. As mentioned earlier, you can build an entire structure of a house in a single day, of course it depends on the size of the project you're working on, but nonetheless it drastically reduces the number of people needed to actually build a structure, which gets rid of a ton of labor. Because all the people who put in the nails for the house, or adjust the windows and all that type of stuff, they don't need to do that anymore, because it's all done for them using a machine. And so that's one issue that a lot of people are raising with going this way. But at the same time, there's still a lot of benefits that we had with it. One example is the Earth's population is growing exponentially. It's increasing a huge amount, and the demand for new construction is constantly going up. We're actually living in one of the best construction markets we've seen in quite a while now. Um, so, but in being able to just print a house one day, then send all the people in to finish it off, makes it so we can build these houses at a much faster and a much cheaper place. And a lot of places that have issues with being affordable living, this could completely revolutionize that, because now we can build those houses and make them so much cheaper, and so people can afford to buy these houses, and that's huge. And not only in the United States, in the entire world, it it provides us a way to provide a lot of housing, which could have a huge impact on homelessness and all that type of stuff. And then, but it also can potentially help us a lot with sustainability, which has been another huge push in construction. So with new materials being used, it could help cut us down a lot of waste. Like we wouldn't use as much wood, for example, which cuts down on how much trees we're cutting down, when all, etc. Or we're not going to use as much. I mean, we're not going to take as long to move all the materials around, which cuts down the number of vehicles that are driving back and forth, which reduces carbon dioxide going into the atmosphere and reduces the impact of greenhouse gases. There's a ton of stuff with sustainability. It helps with housing. It helps. But once again, as said, there's still a lot of issues. We don't know how actually good these houses are when we build them, and with labor and all that type of stuff. So it's something to look at, and something that could really change and have actually a big impact on all of our lives. Because if in 20 years down the road you're looking to buy a house, but that house is 3D printed, that house could cost a fraction of what you would pay now. I live in Boone, and I'm sure you probably live in Boone too. Housing is pretty expensive in Boone. Like, let's be honest, it's really expensive. I'm a poor person. I can barely afford it. But if I could 3D print a house, I could have the same apartment, or same apartment I'm living in right now, and get it for a fraction of the price, because it's so much more easier to build and all that type of stuff, and that extends to everywhere. So it's a technology that could have a lot of positive impacts on us in the coming future, and only a few things left that we gotta figure out. Then I have a model that I was going to use, so the presentation's kind of, but it'll be better when I have that model. It's just that some issues came up, so I wasn't able to get it, but it's coming, and when I have that, it'll probably be a lot easier.